I don't have a motion, so that does not affect me. I don't have a written motion before me regarding counsel, so I'm not even addressing it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Secondly, I do show that the defendant has holds. He had previously failed to appear for circuit court pretrials on July 20th, 2021 for carjacking, aggravated indecent exposure, those 2 cases, and then he also had bench warrant out for malicious use of telecommunications device, receiving, and then we've got the receiving and concealing stolen firearm and everything in this case. So if possible, I would request a little bit more time, as I believe I'm gonna have to bring together quite a few people for this exam than the 12th, maybe the 19th or the 26th.
Affirmative.
I think they're fucking slow.
Mute him again, please, because I'm done with it.
Afraid that's not possible.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
In person, correct, Your Honor?
Yes, in person. Found, continue. Thank you.
I'll be right over. Uh-huh. Okay.
What's the best course of action? Yep. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Moving.
What's the best course of action? Uh-huh.
Yes.
What's the
Finally,
best
some
course of
action.
action?
Yes. What's next? Yep. Uh-huh.
What's the best course of action?
Finally, some action. Yep.
Whatever you say. Yep. Yes.
Yes. Going.
Whatever you say. Yep. It will feel like falling asleep.
Yes.
Whatever you say. Okay.
Yes. What's next? Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Glad to assist.
Whatever you say.
48 hours. To miss it would be a crime.
Were you at all?
Understood. Affirmative. Yep. Yep. Negative. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yep. Let's go.
Uh-huh.
Going.
Okay. Glad to assist. Whatever you say. Agreed. Okay. Okay. Soldat! Ready for duty?
Going.
Glad to assist. Uh-huh. I'll be right over.
What's next?
Whatever you say.
Yes.
Ready for duty?
Sure thing.
Let's go.
What's the best course of action?
Stellung in. Let's go. Affirmative.
What's next?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go. Understood.
Uh-huh. Right. Yes. Going. Going. What's next?
Let's go. Affirmative. Ready for duty?
Alden.
Let's go. Okay.
Sure thing.
Catch him off guard. Let's go. Yep. Ready for duty? Yes. That's what this. Okay. Okay.
What's the best course of action? Where are you going? Okay,
Ready for duty?
let's see what we can get done.
Let's go. Okay.
Let's see what we can get done.
Ready for duty? I'll be right over.
Whatever you say.
Glad to assist. Yes. Yep. Uh-huh. Yes. Yes. Yep. Yes. What's next? Ready for duty? Uh-huh. Yep. 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 Alle Mann, Achtung! I'll be right over. I'll be right over. Uh-huh. Understood. Understood. Yes. 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 Uh-huh. Understood. Okay. Yep. Understood. I'll be right over. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. Yep.
Yes. Okay.
What's the best course of action?
Uh-huh. Going. Okay. Yes.
Der Kamerad war eben doch noch hier. Was haben wir denn hier?
Right. Uh-huh.
What's the best course of
Yes.
action? Let's go. What's the best course of action? Okay.
Ready for duty? Okay.
What's the best course of action? Let's go.
Moving.
Whatever you say.
Yep.
Let's go. What's the best course of action? Let's go.
Yes.
Ready for duty?
Yep.
Let's go.
Okay. Understood. Understood. Na, der Kamerad doch noch da.
Okay.
Ich baue mich um.
Going. Yes. Yep.
Mal nachsehen.
Affirmative. Uh-huh. Yes. Yep. Oh, Gavin, it's GB Run.
What's next?
mir. Ready for duty? I'll be right over. Understood. Understood.
What's the best course of action?
Affirmative.
I understand. Agreed. Let's go.
Sure thing. You right there. Uh-huh. Sure thing.
Glad to assist.
Yes.
Let's go.
I'll be right over. I'll be right over. Sure thing.
That's what we can get. I'm already prepared.
Soldat! Finally, some action.
Glad to assist.
I'll be right over.
Yep. Yes.
What's next? Okay.
Whatever you say. Uh-huh. Agreed. I understand.
I didn't expect to put so much effort on just a few men in the van looked. Terrible.
I must confess your assistance has been invaluable. It would have taken me years to get hold of even a single member of the Speerspitze.
It's my duty to make your HQ's resources be put to good use. And your cause is badly one.
Out the basement door.
Yes. I'll take it.
Glad to assist.
Okay? Yes. Yep.
Let's see what we can get done. Yep. Okay. Let's go.
Servant. Uh-huh. Yep. Uh-huh. 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 Understood.
What's the best course of action? Uh-huh. Agreed. I understand. Just an inch.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
When the trial finally began in October 2024, prosecutors Megan Frankish and Jeffrey Fogus spoke to jurors with absolute certainty.
The answer to the question, who did
What's the
it,
best course of
sits
action?
right there. Melody Walker Ferris.
Uh-huh.
The motive?
Money, sex, new life.
According to prosecutors, Melody wanted Gary dead so she could cash in on his multi-million-dollar assets and live happily ever after with her lover of the past 4 years, Rusty Barton.
Why shouldn't people believe you had the greatest motive to murder Gary?
I knew nothing about our financial situation. Absolutely nothing.
Prosecutors say on the evening of July 3rd, 2 days before Gary's body was found, Gary and Melody got into a fight in the kitchen, and Melody shot him.
He goes downstairs, trying to get away. She shoots him again.
There's a blood trail from the kitchen and then went down the steps.
Those blood trails never lead
Let's
out of
see
the
what we
house,
can get done.
upstairs or downstairs.
In their opening statement, defense attorneys Michael Ray and John Luke Weaver attacked the prosecution's claims and told jurors there's a harmless explanation for those blood drops.
Gary had been bitten by one of Melody's dogs on the ankle and was bleeding as he walked down the stairs.
We're talking tiny little droplets of blood. That would not be consistent with a shooting. You would expect far more blood.
And daughter Amanda would testify she saw that wound on her dad's leg.
Yes.
The defense also argued Melody is innocent
Questions without answer.
and raised those questions about how Gary's body got to the burn pile.
And they come running.
Melody Ferris, at her size, it is impossible
I'll be right over.
that she moved that body from the location where the state says his body was to a burn pile. It is absolutely impossible.
The defense also raised questions about the murder weapon.
Where is the gun? No idea.
They offered up an alternative suspect, Melody's own son.
And his motive would be?
Financial. He wanted the property.
One big thing you're gonna hear,
Whistle and they come
and
running.
you're gonna hear it a lot, is Scott Ferris.
The defense argues that Scott, from the very beginning, tried to draw attention of investigators away from him.
13 minutes
And they come running.
after law enforcement arrives, Scott Ferris is already blaming his mother From the very beginning, Scott is saying Melody, Melody, Melody,
I'll be right over.
leading law enforcement down this trail.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear from this.
When the prosecution put Scott Ferris on the stand, they asked him directly.
Did you murder your father?
I absolutely did not murder my father.
I'll be right over.
I love my father. He was the backbone. He was the glue to our family.
Understood.
Sitting just feet away, Melody says Scott's testimony was an act.
The Scott that was in that courtroom was not my son. He was well rehearsed.
Could you stand for the jury, please?
Sure.
On cross-examination, the defense pointed out that Scott, at 6'8", 280 pounds, was the only person on the farm physically capable of moving Gary's 300-pound body.
Because of my size and the size of my father, yes, I was going to be looked at like that. But I had nothing to do with it.
Raise your right hand.
To help establish a motive for murder, prosecutors called Melody's lover, Rusty Barton, to the stand.
You're from Alabama, is that right? Excuse me, Tennessee. I apologize.
I'm from Tennessee.
Okay. And you are
There's
Tennessee.
a big difference.
That's true. He's charming. He's smart.
And he says he captured the heart of married Melody Ferris.
You were in love with her, fair to say?
Yes.
And she was in love with you, fair to say?
Yes,
Do you recall searching for wedding bands on the internet?
I do.
Affirmative.
What type of wedding bands did y'all have in mind?
We talked about plain gold bands.
Affirmative.
Tell the jury what you
Fogus also asked Rusty about that incriminating call.
She said that Gary was on the burn pile.
Remember, Rusty had told investigators that call had taken place before Gary was found.
Okay.
But a year later, after Melody was arrested, Rusty changed his story, saying the call happened after the body was discovered. He said he had the dates wrong.
What I told you was correct, but when it happened was not correct.
But prosecutor Fogus didn't buy it and claims Rusty was trying to help Melody.
Do you believe him?
No. He was still in a relationship with her. He didn't know how this was going to turn out.
At the time of the murder, Rusty was hours away in Tennessee. He was never charged with anything relating to the death of Gary Ferris.
Affirmative.
More witnesses would testify, and later, Melody, who was silent throughout the trial, would address the court in a dramatic and explosive statement that would leave her family reeling.
Ready for duty? Affirmative.
Day after day, Melody Ferris faced witnesses determined to see her pay for the alleged murder of her husband.
How is it that you know the defendant in this case?
She's my mother.
None seemed more dogged than her own children, like Chris.
I just had my suspicions that she had something to do with this.
Her daughter, Emily.
She became more hostile. She was more aggressive with us. She was demanding money.
You see your mom sitting in court?
Yes, sir.
And Scott.
I mean, she always, talked bad about my dad. It's like she always tried to brainwash us, like he was, such a horrible person.
Can you describe what it was like to watch each of your children take the stand?
The most heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching thing I had ever sat through in my entire life.
Because
I knew they were lying.
I have to tell you, you seemed so stoic during all of it.
It was that the time that I'd walk out of that courtroom at nighttime, I was ready to scream at the top of my lungs.
Melody says 3 of her children are trying to pin their father's murder on her for one simple reason.
Okay.
Money. Absolutely money.
Yes.
One of the final witnesses called by prosecutors was Lindsay Harris, who leads the intelligence division in the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office.
I was asked in 2018, July of 2018, to analyze.
Dedication alone won't cut it. Indeed. It will also require expertise, boldness, and a measure of good fortune. The results so far make it clear our unit got the better of them.
Verdächtig. Part of every soldier's
mal dorthin.
I'll be right over. Yep.
Whatever you say. Okay. Yep. Yep. Already going. Yes. 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 Yep.
Ready for duty?
What's the best course of action? Uh-huh.
Ruft Alarm aus!
Some phone records.
Harris says she was able to track the precise movements of Gary Ferris's cell phone on the family farm because Gary had an Android phone with its Google location services turned on.
So this helps us know when the device is traveling even within a certain area.
Harris discovered that on the morning of July 4th, when investigators believe Gary's body was already on the burn pile, his cell phone moved from the house to the burn pile and back to the house.
100%, the device moves from 7:58 to 9:05. Someone must be moving it.
Prosecutors say that someone could only have been Melody Ferris.
We knew that the only person home was Melody.
Lindsay Harris says that during that time, Scott's phone was miles away from the farm.
Scott leaves the residence around 6:30 a.m. on July 4th. He does not return to the home until 8 p.m.-ish, 8:30 p.m. on July 4th.
The defense tries to challenge this seemingly powerful evidence by questioning the accuracy of Harris's findings.
You can clearly see that sometimes the circle's very large, sometimes it's small, and sometimes it says you're absolutely nowhere close to where you are.
The defense called 7 witnesses. One of them was Gary and Melody's youngest daughter, Amanda.
She has told me that she's not guilty, and all I can do is believe that until somebody can prove she is guilty. So I would like to believe that my mother had nothing to do with this. There's just so much pain. There's no good outcome. He's never coming back. He'll never be there again. And that's just the worst part about it all. And knowing that my mother could potentially spend the rest of her life in prison is terrifying.
Ms. Francis, you can go ahead. It was now time to wrap this case up with closing arguments.
She had plenty of motives. She despised Gary. She hated that he was giving away their money, her money. That was the main motive. Rusty was a bonus.
100.
In their closing, the defense did some heavy lifting to demonstrate how difficult it would be for someone Melody's size to somehow get her 300-pound husband onto that burn pile.
This is 320 pounds. I am 185 pounds. And that's all I have. It's not realistic. And then the fact that they've presented no actual evidence as to how she did that, that means there's doubt.
On October 30th, 2024, the jury got the case. But after 3 days of deliberations, they sent a note to the judge saying they were deadlocked. The judge told them to give it one more try.
Yes.
I was absolutely numb. You don't know what to think.
And just a few hours later,
All right, I understand y'all reached a verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
Melody Ferris was found guilty on all 5 counts against her, including malice murder, felony murder, and making false statements.
It was horrible. They carried me immediately over to the jail. I was alone, curled up, in the fetal position.
Jurors Sheila Albright and Chris Hyatt say the cell phone evidence convinced them of Melody's guilt.
Once we agreed on the time of death, then it was, okay, well, how is this phone moving after Gary's body it was in the burn pile? Who was on the property at that time? And who was? Melanie.
As for the question of how Gary got to the burn pile, Sheila Albright had a theory.
But in my mind, I thought that she first shot him inside the house because there was evidence of that. I thought maybe he had run out the door trying to get away from her. And maybe she took him by gunpoint down to the burn pile. I think that maybe the burn pile is the last place she shot him.
For Scott and some members of the Ferris family, the guilty verdict brought relief, even though their own mother was now a convicted murderer.
Because we got justice from my father. We fought 6 years to get answers. My father loved my mother. He fought for my mother. He was a very loving father.
But there would be no love shown by Melody at her sentencing, when she was given the opportunity to express remorse and ask the judge for leniency.
I've waited for years to make this statement to everyone.
But instead of asking the judge for mercy,
I want the world to know who did this.
She named who she said was the real killer.
I know Scott killed his father. He took my husband, the father of Chris, Emily, and Amanda. He took Big Daddy, our grandchildren.
But Melody was far from done tormenting her son.
What's the best course of action?
Yes.
Sure thing. Ready for duty?
Scott, this is unforgivable.
What's next?
Scott, I have spent an entire life of loving and protecting you.
Yes.
But this, I refuse to cover for you.
When Melody Ferris used her sentencing hearing to accuse her son Scott of being Gary's true murderer, some of those in the courtroom were floored.
I'm back at the prosecution table, and we're all kind of like, I cannot believe this is happening.
So I was not prepared for that. It was shocking that that is the opportunity she believed was hers to take.
Scott, sitting behind his mother with his family, simply stared in disbelief.
Oh, I was furiated. As she did her last final jabs, that shows you what she was like.
One last turn of the knife.
One last turn to make somebody's life a living hell because it didn't go her way.
Judge David Cannon had little patience.
All right, Miss Ferris, I'm going to cut you off.
But Melody persisted.
And I plead with you to roll this verdict out. Help me get justice for the correct person.
Yes.
As bad as it sounds, I want to be there to watch him chained and shackled and brought to justice.
Instead, it was Melody who would be led away in chains.
And the penalty for murder is life.
The 64-year-old was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 30 years. She also received an additional 5 years for concealing Gary's death by burning his remains and making a false statement to police. Melody didn't take the stand in her trial. Instead, she chose to tell her story exclusively to 48 Hours.
I just watched one of the most extraordinary moments inside a courtroom. that I have ever seen in my career. What do you want people to know about you and this case?
I want everyone, but especially my children, my grandchildren, and at this point, the world. I didn't do this. I know who did. And it's our son, Scott. Without a shadow of a doubt, I know he did it.
I absolutely had nothing to do with my father's death. And it was 100% Melody Ferris who murdered my father. That is the truth.
Why do you think she accused you of killing your father?
Because I was an easy target. I lived on the property. I'm former military.
It's not the most common tool.
Melody claims she hadn't spoken up until now out of maternal loyalty. She says her own mother, now deceased, suspected Scott all along and asked Melody to take the blame. But now her time as Scott's shield was over. Melody says she believes Scott set her up from the beginning. And she says she knows why.
Scott wanted that property to be his. He had made that known to countless people. It's the perfect murder.
Affirmative.
You kill your daddy, you set your mother up, she goes to prison, you get everything.
You understand, though, that to people listening to this, they're thinking, here is a mother willing to sacrifice her son to save her own skin. What would you say to that?
This is a mother's worst nightmare.
Melody stands by her claim that Gary was getting ready to cut Scott off financially.
Gary had made it very well known that Scott needed to get a job. Things were fixing to change on that property.
But Scott says Gary never issued an ultimatum that he get a job and never accused him of not pulling his weight.
My dad actually made comments to me saying, hey, leave some work for me. You know, because he wasn't there during the week. He's like, well, don't cut the pasture yet. Let me do it.
Melody says she told Detective Hayes she'd seen Scott acting suspiciously the day before Gary's body was found.
I said, I saw Scott come from that burn pile.
Did she tell you that?
No.
And why would she lie now?
You have to look at the timing of the statement. She has nothing to lose. She's going to make all kinds of off-the-wall claims at this point that are just not provable.
Despite a sentence that will likely mean spending the rest of her life in prison, Melody remains determined to prove her innocence.
One day you believe you will walk a free woman again.
I certainly hope so.
Let's see what we can get done.
But I will be sitting there right behind my son in court.
And for those who believe, you got exactly what you deserved. You say?
I didn't do it. I did not do it.
She knows she did it. She needs to stop with the lies. Just come clean. Stop trying to ruin all of our lives because it didn't work out for you. I still haven't been able to figure out why she would do this. I don't know if I ever will.
I'll be right over.
I buried my 18-year-old child who was murdered by this animal.
A killer across the street.
Isn't it likely he's gonna get out?
Can a family keep him behind bars?
My dad's last words to me were, you fight to keep Steve in prison.
48 Hours is all new. CBS next Saturday, 10/9 Central, and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Ooh, what's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy, and this is One Piece, episodes 395 and 396. We're going to the auction for the people, literally. Oh boy, let's dive in. If you want that full interaction, go to patreon.com/nerdynightly, but if you don't, stay here, because Sal Bowdy once told me the world was gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
Time limit. Human auction. Karimaku.
Dramatic music. Garp? I love that I know Garp by his mouth. That's crazy. Garp, that's disgusting. The Dark King? It's a sick name. That is a high level of confidence.
歩兵とはいえ、下手にレイリーを相手にすれば軍は思わぬ数の兵力を失うことになるぞ。
He's old, but he's still dangerous.
海軍に2つの伝説を一度に相手にしろというのか。
Who's the other legend they're taking on right now? For a second, I thought that was Django. I was about to lose my mind. Jesus Christ. No, Cammy! Jail. Jail for all of you. You know what? Not jail. Electric chair. Firing squad. Line them up and let fucking Sanji kick them hard enough to split their bodies in half. I hate the government. Wow, One Piece really is for me. The music is so dystopian. If you go off the conversion of like yen to dollars, this guy being $4,800 seems so cheap. Like $5 grand is crazy. This is so dark. We're gonna kill all of the auction peeps because they want to own slaves. I want to lock the doors and burn the theater down. Let them die for their sins. We are. It looks very flammable. We just need to get some fucking crowbars in the doors. We'd be good to go. Toast them. I'm coming around on Arlong. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? Fuck, maybe Arlong was right. Jesus.
人魚族の女は7000万ベリーだと
70 million berries.
考えたらそれ生きてるって言えねえよ。そう思うならさっさと見つけろ。
Let's move. It won't be long before the Bosch find us.
Looks like we've hit a roadblock. The gondola's our way in. Nothing's changed about that.
All prepared for what happened in this case.